Warning, the Stone Age Gamer includes a lot of bad language. Cover your mother***ing ears.
Good evening and welcome to episode 162 of the Stone Age Gamer podcast for the week of August 11th, 2017. I am Kris Randazzo, and joining me, as always, is fire-breathing bald man Dan Ryan.
I'm not bald.
But you do breathe fire.
But I do breathe fire.
The final round of our summer series is here, and Dan and I have many things to say. But before we go any further, here's your weekly reminder that you can email us at mail@geekade.com. Just include the word Stone Age Gamer in the subject line. You can let us know what you think of our show, what topics you want us to discuss in the future, or just say hello, because we always want to hear from you, the listener. So, Dan and I, before we started recording the actual podcast, we're having a conversation that we thought would be fun to continue on the show. So, I'm still recovering from the pain in the ass-a-thon. Dan clearly is not, because he's much more of a man than I am.
Oh, that's without question.
Without question. And I was just telling Dan that Dean has finally beat Bubsy. If you watched the Pete-a-thon, Dean failed just miserably at Bubsy, way worse than he did last year. He didn't even get as far as he did it in last year's. But he promised that if he didn't beat the game during the Pete-a-thon, that he would go online the following night, which was this past Monday night, and play it until it was done. And over 6 hours of playing the game, he finally did it. And I was explaining to Dan,
6 hours of
6
Bubsy.
hours of just hot Bubsy goodness. Delicious. It's up on our YouTube channel right now, the Geekade YouTube channel. You should totally skip through it. I do not recommend watching 6 solid hours of Dean try to beat Bubsy, but you can absolutely skip around it and watch just the mental degeneration as the night went on. But he did use save states at the boss. He didn't use it for the whole game, but when he got to the final boss of the game, he used save states, which I don't blame you. I don't blame him at all, because I have no idea how I beat this game when I was younger. I remember doing it, and I remember it happening. I remember the ending. I remember the final boss. But I'm watching him play that final boss. I'm like, Jesus, how the hell did I do this? It was so luck-based, because he just...
Oh, absolutely.
He's got this... It's this two giant woolies in a chair or something, and they're throwing cheese wheels and all other weird goodness out of him. And they also have these like stupid red orbs that pop out of their head. It's all random. There's no like... there's no pattern.
There's no pattern to it. There's nothing to learn.
Yeah, it's just
to get better at.
He moves in a very predictable pattern, but the stuff that shoots out of him is just completely random. So I must have just gotten lucky in one of my attempts is all. But Jesus, what a piece of crap! And
it's a horrible game. It's a horrible game.
It's hard to say that it's a horrible game, because I've played what came after it.
That doesn't make it any less horrible.
It's a bad game, but it has a few redeeming qualities. Like, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a horrible game, just that it's a bad game.
Yeah.
It's worse than below average, but it's not quite horrible.
I will say horrible.
I will say Bubsy 2 is horrible. I will say Bubsy for Jaguar is extremely horrible, and Bubsy 3D...
Atrocious.
Bubsy 3D just is on a level all of its own, because, wow. But using save states on the final boss, it just reminded me that I need to go back and try to beat Wizards and Warriors 3, because I haven't seriously attempted that game in a long time, and when I was younger, when it first came out, I got to the final boss several times, and I've never been able to beat the final boss. And that is a game that has no continues. It's just... go
play through
until play through and that's the end of it, and it is not an easy game, and no. I've made it all the way to that final boss like maybe 3 or 4 times, and each time he's killed me. And oh my god, that game does not screw around, because when you lose you get an ending. And the ending is Malkill sitting in the throne laughing at you chained up to a pole
while he's fucking your wife. It's crazy. It was so over the top. Speaking
he didn't
of,
even have a wife. You got he married you
he
off
married
to some
you off to like to like a Margot Robbie equivalent in NES graphics, and then proceeds to have his way with her in front of you. It's horrible.
He gives you like a week to get attached. And
yeah. No, it's an evil plan, to be sure. But I think, Kris, we should relish in our relative failures from this past weekend. Let's go through the list real quick. This week's episode versus Contra. How'd we do?
Well, we did all right. We didn't finish the game, but we got up to the second to last level, and we never used the Konami code. I couldn't get it to work. We were playing it on a Raspberry Pi. I have no idea why it wouldn't work.
That's weird.
That is weird. So we never used the Konami code, and we made it all the way up to the second to last level. Sticking with our, we couldn't pass a level unless both of us were doing it kind of a thing till almost the end. And
it's not bad.
I was very impressed with Evan's abilities. Another hour and we could have finished that game. No doubt. So we didn't actually, beat Red Falcon, but we got pretty darn far. So it's good for us.
0 for 1.
0 for 1.
Stone Age Gamer versus Comic Zone. Kris, how did you and I do?
We did wow. We did okay. We got farther in the game than I had ever gotten before. And we
did we beat the game though, Kris?
No, we did not.
No, we did not. We failed.
We definitely made a lot of parallels to the sounds that Sketch Turner makes with Waluigi. Wah!
Wah! But we did learn new things about this game while we were playing. The paper airplane trick.
Never knew about that. I didn't know about the farting. The farting. That was weird.
Mm-hmm.
So
0 for 2.
0 for 2.
0 for 2. The Atari Game by Game podcast and our very own Kris Randazzo versus Sneak and Peek and Combat. Really could have been a winner in these.
There is no real way to win per se, but I think
you and Ferg won.
We did because we had a ton of fun playing Sneak and Peek, which is it's awful. It doesn't make any sense. Like some of the places you can hide in it's hide and seek on Atari
in the wall, and
you could sink into the floor.
Yep.
And it's not you really do it on purpose. You just move around, and then all of a sudden your character sinks into the floor. Like, what the fuck? What just happened? But playing Combat with Ferg was some of the most fun I've had in years. There's never anybody who wants to play Atari games with me, and I just like Karen doesn't want to play Atari games with me. My son's not really old enough to give a crap about actually playing the games with me, and
right.
I've never played.
Plus, he just wouldn't be competition. I mean, you just have such an experience.
I really do
decimate him.
I've never really played Combat with anybody that loves Atari games the same way that I do. And it was really, really awesome to do that. We just had so much fun playing Combat. It was outstandingly awesome. I love that game to death, and I had so much fun. So yes, I'm going to say we won that.
Yeah, no, that I believe that puts us at 1 and 2. It was infectiously joyous.
That's awesome. I'm glad it was entertaining to people other than us.
I was entertained. Next, we had the Paper Cuts podcast reunion. Versus Puzzle and Dragons. And
how'd you do?
We were relatively successful. I mean, we didn't beat every dungeon that we challenged, but we did beat a couple of them, including a brand new one. And I was not able, my carry skills are not where they need to be yet. So I have something to work on for next year. But Dean and I were able to get through a new dungeon, a new Descended dungeon that has kind of a shitty mechanic at the end of it where you can't match hearts, so you can't heal, which is like, well, fuck, man. I need to do that. I need health back, and you keep hitting me, and luckily this boss doesn't hit too hard, so we were able to get through that pretty easily. So I would say that puts us at 2 for 2.
All right.
2 and 2.
We caught up.
All right. So after that, we had the world-class... This is where I dipped out, because I was relatively sure something was going to get broken in Evan's apartment, and I did not want to be responsible for any of that. How did the power padding go?
That was also some of the most fun that we had during this entire thing.
Did anything get broken?
No, nothing got broken.
That is
we
shocking.
almost got broken, like
To be
physically.
right.
We are all very out of shape in various forms and flavors. There was a lot of sweat, and some wheels got broken.
Sweat, ass sweat.
Jengus really good at the first chunk of it. So I grossly overestimated how much time it takes to play the Olympics in this game.
10 minutes.
So it was about 20 minutes, and we set aside 2 hours. So,
That's too long.
So we did the Olympics. Jengus came in first. I came in second, and it was fun. It was a hoot, and then everyone's like, "I'm not doing that again." So I said, "All right, cool. And we're gonna move on to short order." So I pulled out short order, and that's another power pad game that's basically like Simon, and you jump on the different dots to make a giant burger, and everyone was having a blast with that one. Especially again, Jengus, really good at memory games like that. Really good. So then after we played that for a little bit, then we moved on to Eggsplode, and that's where everybody really got back into things, because the problem was that nobody wanted to jump anymore because we were all tired because we were all out of shape.
Right.
So
yeah.
Eggsplode is exhausting if you're playing one player, but what my sister and I used to do is we'd split up the power pad in two. So Eggsplode is you have all these chickens, and they're all lined up like the buttons on the power pad. And these foxes are running around putting bombs underneath the chickens, and you have to step on the corresponding chickens to break the bombs before they blow up and kill your chickens. Or
that's why I gave up farming.
Yeah,
honestly.
Foxes with bombs. I mean,
It was just constant. Lousy with bomb foxes.
and exhausting.
They're the worst. Bunch of assholes.
So we had a lot of fun playing that. And we kept that up for, I think, almost an hour. And then for we finished off the segment with doing another Olympics in world-class track meet, except we all used our hands.
Nice.
That was the rule. And that was really interesting because after the first match, I think Ferg said, "How is this more exhausting than using our feet?" Because we were expecting it to be easier.
Oh, yeah.
And it was awesome. That was ridiculously fun as well, and I won that one.
Awesome.
Because I was using that was Jengus's downfall. He was nowhere near as good with his hands as he was with his feet. It was ridiculous.
I've heard that about Jengus, to be honest.
As have I. It's
word around the campfire. Lousy with his hands. Amazingly talented with his feet, though.
So again, these aren't games where you can. Yeah, I'll call that a win because it was fun. There's no real beating these games.
All right,
so
well, 3-2.
all right,
All right.
Go us.
Coming up next, we had the Mutant Musings podcast versus Mega Man Unlimited. I watched a little bit of this when I got home. How did that go? I didn't watch the ending.
He did not finish.
Okay.
I swore he was going to. I thought he was going to finish and have tons of time left over.
The section that I was able to watch, he looked like he was ripping through it pretty good.
He was. First several Robot Masters, he was just tearing through it.
Yeah.
And then he got to these, like, there was one of the unlockable Robot Masters. I don't even remember his name, but the board was like, this is so ridiculous, and I can't believe I've never seen it in an actual Mega Man game. The whole board was pretty much all the puzzles with the blocks.
Yeah,
except
that's shitty.
they weren't all blocks. Some of them were instant death spikes.
Oh, that's not cool.
It was brutal.
That's not cool at all.
Not only that, but then it did the whole Gravity Man stage thing, so you had to do a bunch of that shit upside down.
No, fuck that.
Like,
not all right.
I was watching him do that, and I said to myself, I don't even want to get good at this game. I don't want to. I don't want to play this. This is too ridiculous for me.
This is not a thing I want to do.
He made it to, like, the Wily stages, and they were just brutal, and he ran out of time. And he ran out of time, ran out of lives. It was brutal, but he did give it his all, and I was very impressed. But no, that does not count in the win category.
All right, well, tied back up 3-3, 3 wins, 3 losses. After that, we had the You Shall Not Pass Go podcast versus The Lion King for Super Nintendo.
They were ultimately successful, I will say.
Okay.
They
Explain.
started it. So they started it off. What I didn't know was that Dave knew this game very well.
Okay.
So where I expected them to get stuck on, I just can't wait to be king. He had that thing memorized, so he blew right through that. Okay, so they're gonna destroy this game in like 20 minutes, and then we're gonna play Mickey Mania for a while.
Right.
But that was not the case. They made it, I think, with great difficulty. They eventually made it to the last level, and then ran out of continues and had to start the whole thing over again. And so they switched over to easy mode, which then they then beat the game on easy mode. Still a little tough, but they were able to pull it off in the end. So they did beat it, but they had to switch to easy mode to do it. I still call it a win, but it was close.
All right. Well, 4-3. That's
4-3.
good.
Very entertaining though. It was fun. It was a fun watch.
After that, we had Kris Randazzo from the Stone Age Gamer podcast versus the Legend of Zelda. Well, not even the Legend of Zelda, just Zelda the Wand of Gamelon.
Zelda the Wand of Gamelon.
And
I beat it.
Did you?
I
wanted
did.
to stay up for it. I couldn't. I was out by this point.
I felt like I almost fell asleep a couple times playing it because there's so we used a walkthrough this time, just like we did with Faces of Evil,
From
because
the beginning,
it is
right?
from
Like,
the beginning.
Yeah.
I knew this was going to be just as obtuse as Faces of Evil, and it was.
Sure.
It's like point and click adventure style. There's no way you're figuring this out unless you're literally just trying everything.
Every single thing you possibly
so
could.
much stupid in this game.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of points toward the end where you have to farm rupees.
Ugh.
And you're just go in a thing, kill a couple of things, leave, go back in, kill a couple of things, leave. Oh my god, I almost fell asleep a couple of times. Like I definitely spaced out a couple of times while doing that. That game fits in the atrocious category. Hands down, that game is hot garbage. It is even with the Super Nintendo controller adapter, it controls like feces. And it's so hard. And like not hard, it's just stupid difficulty because you can't do the things you want to do. Like you got to climb this thing and she's not going to climb, or you want to go in there and use an item, but open the menu is the same button as going through a door, and why is that?
Which makes sense.
There's so much wrong with this piece of shit game. And the bosses are all like, just walk into them and throw something at them, one hit, and then you watch a cutscene. Like, you get to Ganon, toss the Wand of Gamelon at him, and that's the end of it. Then he screams and goes to some weird, freakish cutscene. But I did it. Whole game.
All right.
Beginning to end.
Did you have time left over to play?
I did, actually. It only took me about 3.5 hours to do, and I set aside 4 hours. It was a little more than 3.5. It was like 3 and 40. So I spent the last 20 minutes playing Hotel Mario, which I actually started to get good at. I didn't know that you could actually jump on the Goombas and stuff. I just never really tried it. And so once I figured that out, the game started getting pretty fun. Like, it's still not a great game, but it's pretty fun. It's not bad. The music is grating, and the cutscenes are Zelda, Wand of Gamelon, and Faces of Evil style. So they're embarrassingly awful. And the music, I can't stress enough. The music is like somebody running a cheese grater across a cat. It's just awful. And but
unlike
it's
one of the games we're going to talk about for our summer series later.
True.
Excellent.
But yeah, this was not a great game, but not Hotel Mario is not a bad game. It's not a great game, but it's not bad.
All right. Well, let's call that a win and 5-3.
All right, we're doing
ahead.
good.
All right. So from the 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. hour, joining us all the way from the distant mythical land of Hawaii, our friend Brandon from the Interdimensional RSS podcast, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast, played The Binding of Isaac.
He did.
Did he finish it?
Can you finish it?
I don't know.
I know he only played it for an hour, and I haven't watched all of it yet, so I honestly don't know if he finished it.
All right,
I don't think he did.
Loss.
Yeah, I don't think he did. I think he just played that for an hour until the hour was up.
All right, then. Well, that puts us at 5-4, Kris. 5-4. Hitting us again, the Mutant Musing podcast, taking on X-Men for the Genesis.
I was asleep on the couch next to them while they were playing this. I watched the beginning of it, and then I said, fuck this, and I just rolled over and went to sleep. They not only did they gave up on X-Men, they flat out gave up. They were like, I'm not doing this anymore. And so they moved on to the backup game, which was Spider-Man and X-Men and Arcade's Revenge, which they also gave up on.
Oh, no.
Because both of those games are steaming piles of garbage. Actually, that's not entirely true. I kind of liked X-Men on Genesis.
Game. Yeah.
Spider-Man and X-Men is a piece of shit.
But
yeah, X-Men on Genesis is hard, and it's really obtuse. I really want to watch what they did, because I'm curious where they gave up and why they got stuck. But yeah, no, that definitely counts in the lost category.
All right, so that puts it back at 5-5. And then our final game of the stream, the Vest and Friends podcast video series webathon vlog versus Bubsy. And we already talked about Dean did not complete. So
not during the Pete-a-thon itself.
We ended up 5 wins, 6 losses.
Yes, we did. We got our asses beat.
We did. But
fun was had. Yeah, it was good times. Fun was had, and
fun
we raised.
Money was raised.
Yeah, we didn't hit our. More than that, we were more like $2,780. I think
that's not bad.
We came real close to our $3,000 goal, but we didn't quite hit it.
It's not bad. Maybe if we would have beat Comic Zone, Kris.
Yeah, you know what? I bet we could have raised more money if we'd finished Comic Zone. People were probably watching us and saying, "I'm not giving these jackasses money. They can't beat Comic Zone.
Can't even beat
Screw
Comic
them.
Zone. What a bunch of fuckers." Well, overall, a pretty successful weekend, I'd say. I had fun doing the stuff that I did, so look forward to doing it again next year. Maybe.
Yes, indeed. Oh, well, I mean, we're definitely going to do it again next year. We have lots of terrible ideas in mind.
All right.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for NES.
Oh, God. That is such a bad idea.
And that was the thing on this show, like when we started this show. Like we talked about that game all the time.
It's awful.
It is. And
fuck, does that mean I have to play it with you?
I wouldn't mind you being in the room. You don't have to actually play it with me. And I'm also going to help Dean tackle Bubsy too. Like I've beaten Bubsy and now he has too, but I feel like Bubsy needs to be a part of the marathon at this point, but he doesn't need to go it alone anymore. So I'm going to switch off with him with Bubsy too, and we're going to see if we can polish it off.
I think we should have him and my kids play Bub, because I bet you they'd be better at it.
You're probably right.
Probably right. All right, well, that's it was a good time. It was a good time. Thank you to everybody who donated and all that good stuff. And
yeah, people were watching. We had conversations going on the chat the whole time. Like it was a lot more involved this year. So yeah, thank you to everybody involved. This was a really good time, a really good thing we did. The people at the Colon Cancer Alliance were very appreciative, and we look forward to doing it next year.
And I'm still not playing Echo, so so there you go. So what's our feature topic for this week, Kris?
Well, we are talking about the last week of our summer series, the last month of our summer series. We were tasked with playing Karnov and Crystallis, both for the NES.
And talk about going out on a fucking sour note, Kris.
Seriously. So let's talk Karnov first.
What a Karnov. Flaming pile of shit.
Yeah, this was released.
God, how bad this game was. I'm sorry.
I never knew how bad this game was.
I remember liking this game when I was young and apparently a fucking idiot.
I remember you saying that, and I remember a lot of people telling me that, oh, Karnov is cool. And I remember, all right, this game was released in January of 1988 in the U.S. It's based on an arcade game of the same name, which was released a year prior in January of 87. I was a huge fan. All right, so here's the fun story. My family and I went camping with our extended family at a place called Starlight Campground in Pennsylvania, and it had an arcade on campus, which was where I spent all of my time. Any time that I could spend there. It was a great arcade. It was the first place I saw the arcade version of Punch-Out. It was the first place I played Rampage. It was the first place I played Gauntlet. Hang On. Like, what a great arcade this was. It seems a lot bigger in my mind because I was really small when we went there.
Yeah.
But there was definitely a ton of arcade machines there. It was like, they were all around the wall, and then there was like enough of them in the middle to make like a little island of them in the middle.
And
which
also,
was where the
fuck
Hang On machine
outside.
was. Exactly. Screw
Camping
the
is
outdoors.
stupid.
When there's an
Video
arcade
games
there,
are way cooler.
absolutely. So my favorite thing there besides Punch Out was Rampage. I loved Rampage so much.
Rampage is great.
And I found out there was an NES version of it. So we went to the electronics boutique in the Hamilton Mall, and we picked up Rampage, where I was concerned by the cover of it because it only had George and Lizzie on it, and no Ralph.
Right.
And later found out there was no Ralph in the NES game, which made me sad.
But still okay.
It's still okay.
It was still
we still had a
super
ton of fun
fun.
with it. Inside that box, because the Rampage for NES was distributed by Data East, there was a poster inside of that. And inside of it, they showed all these cool other Data East games, which I was very interested in, like Kid Nicky and Bad Dudes, which I had rented from my local video store. And one of the other games was Karnov, which I never had. I never got it for a Christmas or birthday present, and none of my local rental stores had this game. But the screenshots looked super cool. It had like these big, bold letters and stuff on it, and I loved the cover art. You're just some weird dudes shooting fire out of your whatever, and it looked neat. I thought the game looked really cool, and it always had a certain air of mystique about it, and I just never got around to playing it, which is why I nominated it for our summer series. If I had gotten this game when I was a kid, I would have been pissed.
Honestly, I don't remember it being this bad.
I spent way more. I don't have a ton of free time. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I have a ton of free time. And there's a lot of games that I genuinely want to play. I was so angry after I went to bed that night because I felt that I just wasted like 4 hours of my life on this goddamn game. The controls are just hideous.
Yeah, they're bad.
It's just you have no maneuverability.
That's gonna be a theme this evening. I feel
it is.
The shittiness of controls.
There's some real hit detection problems with this game, and so what I wound up doing was
theme. Ooh, we're tying things together.
Foreshadowing. So I spent a chunk of time with this, and then because I finally got myself a Raspberry Pi, as I mentioned on the show, I wanted to fire up the arcade game because I was curious if this was one of those situations where they tried to do a direct arcade translation, or that this was somehow spruced up for an NES release. Which if this was spruced up, then holy crap, what must the arcade game be like? This is a really faithful port of the arcade game.
Yeah, it is.
Really, really faithful. I'm very impressively so. Obviously they changed a few things because the arcade game had some, much prettier graphics and bigger sprites and was more of a coin muncher. But Ninja Gaiden, this is not. This was not living up to any of the Tecmo recreations for NES or even Capcom's Bionic Commando. Like it's not that kind of thing. This was just an arcade port, and it is just not fun. And
it's just so slow.
It is. It's so
that's the
plodding.
thing I didn't remember was just it was so slow, and the falling takes so long.
Yeah. How in the world does a guy this big fall that slow?
Oh man, because there's some cool stuff around this game.
What an awesome setting! I'm fighting a T-Rex at one point.
Yeah. And the character itself is cool. The breathing fire and like the power-ups that you can get are cool. Like the wings.
I wish he looked more like he looked on the cover of the game. I love the cover art to this game. It's really cool. And just the idea of being this dude who either breathes or shoots fire out of his hands, fighting all these pterodactyls and weird shit, like the rock monsters that come out and laugh at you and then throw rocks at you. It's a cool concept. It's just not fun at all.
It's not a good game. The controls are shitty.
And the music got really obnoxious.
Yeah.
Because, like, I had an affinity for this music because I was a big fan of Bad Dudes.
Right.
I loved that game, and Karnov is a boss in that game, and including him changing colors, which he does in the NES version of this game as well. And, he breathes fire, and he looks pretty different, but he's way more maneuverable in that game than he is in his own game.
Yeah, we should have played Bad Dudes.
We should have played
That
Bad
game's
Dudes.
fucking dope.
And what's neat about that is that there's standard boss music, but when the boss is Karnov, they throw his theme into, like, there's a different version that incorporates his theme into the boss music, which is neat. So playing this and hearing the actual Karnov theme music in the game was neat. But correct me if I'm wrong, but it was just that song for every level, right?
Yeah.
Dude, he shows up at the beginning of the level in a lightning bolt. I remember when I hit start, when I sat down to play this game, and I hit start, and the friggin' lightning bolt comes out, and the game starts. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm looking forward to tonight.
I am so excited.
Within minutes, that all went away.
Yeah. I really, like, honestly, it's crazy. I don't remember it being this awful. But it is a game that I think is so rife for, like, a remake.
Yeah.
There's
you're right.
a lot of really cool ideas in here. It's a cool setting. It's a cool character. Data East made some pretty badass games back in the day. Mm-hmm. And, like, there's a lot of potential here. The mythology that's around it, like, it's just not good. It just sucks. It sucks on toast. And I'm sorry we had to play it.
Yeah, that was I mean, I'm not sorry, because now I know, and I can put that game behind me, and I never have to play it again.
Never touch it again.
I don't have to wonder. Karnov is a piece of crap.
Ugh.
That's a shame.
0 for 1.
0 for 1.
0 for 1 this week.
So we're going to take ourselves a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking about our other game, Crystallis. You're listening to the Stone Age Gamer podcast from geekade.com. Stick around. And now here's a look at some of the other original content available right now at geekade.com.
First up, a new episode of everybody's favorite gaming podcast has arrived just in time for, well, whatever occasion you need to justify listening to an awesome gaming podcast. Our heroes cover everything from new unearthed arcana to Clue Supernatural Edition to even a deck-building game about deck building. How meta. Catch all this excitement in You Shall Not Pass Go, Episode 18. Keep calm and surrender Packed Blade.
Next, Geekade's Dave Diorio is not ashamed of his fears. It was summon Packed Blade, isn't it? Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Is that not what I said? What did I say?
You said surrender Packed Blade, which,
you
know what, is kind of cooler.
Okay.
So I'm going to say that I'm going to supersede their episode title. If I'm editor-in-chief, I can do that.
You can. You're the big cheese.
Next, Geekade's Dave Diorio is not ashamed of his fears. One of said fears is prison, which has led him to really enjoy media that focuses on it. So you can imagine how excited he was when he learned that there was a new podcast in town that was created and produced by real-life inmates about real life in real-life prison. Thing is, this new podcast is more than it seems, and not necessarily in a good way. Find out what he thinks in Budsworthy, Ear Hustle.
Not for nothing, I got to agree. Girls in prison movies, big fan. 70s, like, exploitation films, like The Big Birdcage and shit. Fucking dope movies.
Shawshank Redemption. Fantastic film.
Absolutely. Completely different from The Big Birdcage, though. Big Birdcage stars Pam Grier, so get an idea of where your head needs to be at for that kind of flick. Fucking fabulous, though. Finally, Episode 2 of Geekade's new comic book podcast is here, and you shouldn't care just because I said so. No, you should care because it's a great place to hear people talking about comics. They look at Spider-Man Homecoming, Dennis Hopeless's run on Spider-Woman, and even a few things that don't feature the word spoiler. Don't miss nonstop comics. Fuck! I've been drinking, Kris. I've been drinking, and apparently I can't read. God damn it.
You're messing up my jokes here, Dan.
I'm sorry. Let me do it again. Finally, episode 2 of Geek Age.
Could you do the whole thing again? Just reread the spider part.
No, the whole thing. God damn it, Kris. I'm a professional. Unique New York. Unique New York.
Buy my book.
Buy my book. Actually, the other rappers and I have constructed a crude suspension bridge from here to Venezuela. Once there, I shall assume odd jobs under the name Mr. Plinkington, but perhaps I've said too much. Finally, episode 2 of Geek Age's new comic book podcast is here, and you shouldn't care just because I said so. No, you should care because it's a great place to hear people talking about comics. They look at Spider-Man Homecoming, Dennis Hopeless's run on Spider-Woman, and even a few things that don't feature the word spider. Don't miss...
What a great joke.
Don't miss Nonstop Comic Shop, episode 2, Aunt May, I'm Coming Home.
You can catch all this great stuff, plus tons of other articles, videos, podcasts, and more right now at geekade.com.
Not for nothing, if my aunt was Marissa Tomei, I'd be coming home too. Oh. Buzz.
Hey.
Face, neck, and chest.
And we're back. Time to talk about the second game in our thingamahoo here, and I feel like some people are going to be upset with me for saying that I do not.
This game sucks.
I do not like Kris
I don't even give a shit. This game was bad. Yo, for real. All right, so I know people are going to be upset about this, and I don't even care. I'm waiting for it, but like this game. Look.
Go on.
You're not allowed to make a game where you can't hit shit with your sword. when your form of attack is a sword. The hit detection in this game, because I thought maybe I was wrong. Like, I played through and I was like, oh god, this game's fucking awful. I don't like this at all. Let me see, like, I thought this was supposed to be a good game. Let me see what other people had said, and like YouTube reviews and like reviews online and shit, and everybody was like, the hit detection could be a little wonky. Like, motherfucker, a little wonky. Bullshit.
Wonky. No, this game is heralded, like, people think this is better than Zelda. People are like, this game, this is so much superior to Zelda. It's not even close, because there's certain things about the setting that are really cool, similar to Karnov. There's a lot of stuff about this game that works, but it is not fun to play.
No, it's not
there are
fun.
no enjoyable mechanics in this game.
Nope, the character is way too fast.
Yeah, that is a big part of the problem with the hit detection. Like, the hit detection wasn't a problem in Zelda, but it's like you only have that quick little, stab forward kind of a thing. But he moves slow enough that it becomes strategic. Mm-hmm. In frickin' Crystallis, your character moves so quickly that it's very easy to it's Sonic the Hedgehog style, where you're just moving so fast, all of a sudden there's a thing on top of you, and you don't have any like invincibility time between hits. So you just like hit, and
dead. Stupid. So stupid. We bag on modern games quite a bit. I feel like we bag on everything quite a bit, but like we bag on modern games quite a bit for a lot of the problems that they have. But I don't know that there are very many modern games out there today that don't at least control well. Where the hit detection, like, that's just not a problem we have for the most part. You know what I mean? Like,
for the most part, I would agree with you. I would say, conversely to that, there are games, and I feel like this is something that happens a lot. And I'm actually just thinking about this right now. Is like, So think about another game that everybody seems to like rant and rave about being like the best thing ever that you and me just don't care for, Skyrim.
Yeah.
And it really boils down to I just don't think it's fun. Now, granted, like I said, I haven't played Skyrim. I've played Morrowind, but still, the actual act of playing the game, I don't think is fun. I think the setting is neat. I think the things you can do are neat. But at the end of the day, if it's not fun to play, it's not for me. And I think that's a big. I think that's kind of a point of contention with Crystalis here, is that there is a lot of cool stuff in it, and it's an interesting sci-fi-ish setting.
The story
you get to ride
is cool.
a dolphin at one point.
Yeah, that's fun.
But
the story is cool. The music is great.
I'll argue a little bit on the music point too. I found the music to be pretty grating. There's some songs that are pretty decent, but that not a lot of it really landed with me.
I really like that overworld theme.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. The cave stuff is really obnoxious.
It can be, but it was good at creating an atmosphere around, like it being eerie and kind of creepy, and you're in a cave, and that shouldn't be happy-go-lucky music. Like, I think it accomplished what it set out to accomplish. The graphics were pretty good.
Yeah, the graphics are pretty good. Your main character is oddly purple.
He is oddly purple and a little oddly proportioned. Like, I found the character sprites a little out of proportion, but that's fine because they all seem to be... it seemed to be more of a stylistic choice than, we just fucked this one up, sorry. But, like, it's just not fun to play. It's just not. No,
it's not.
Like,
the inventory system is weird, the way that it works.
Having to continuously switch between swords to fight different enemies is fucking stupid. Like, there's a lot of shit that modern games suck at. But again, that's not a thing really that modern games are really shitty with. Like, there's a certain amount of sameness. Once we made the switch to 3D gaming, or 3D platform environments and whatnot, everything started kind of controlling the same. You know, I move with this stick, I look with this stick, and my X is always jump, and my square is always attack, and whatever, whatever. Or B in whatever system you're playing on. There's a relative sameness to control schemes now. That's not a bad thing. Because, like, having to learn to play Crystalis, you had to learn an entirely different hit detection than any other game.
You know what? It's funny that you say that, because the hit detection reminded me of a worse version, but still reminded me of Neutopia. Because Neutopia had a very strange hit detection system too that kept bugging me out. And so here I am playing another Zelda clone that also has shitty hit detection. It's worse than Neutopia, definitely, because the hit detection doesn't ruin Neutopia.
Right. You can learn the hit detection in Neutopia, and the arc of the sword is a bit different, and there's not that weird delay. Like, the main character in Crystalis, one of the things that was also super frustrating for me anyway, is that there seemed to be like a rearing back before the forward stab motion of the sword.
Yeah.
So, there's a timing issue. Like, there's so many things wrong with the combat in that game.
Mm-hmm. And you don't stop when you're swinging your sword either. Like, you just keep moving as you're attacking, which is counterintuitive if you are used to playing something like Zelda, where, you swing your sword and you stop to swing your sword. You don't just keep running while you're swinging the sword. So there was a lot that's just counterintuitive about this game.
But even playing it that way, like, if I'm running at somebody, like in Ninja Gaiden, when I'm running at an enemy, because you don't stop in Ninja Gaiden, I hit the button, he swings the sword. There's not that weird.
You can't run and swing your sword.
You're right. I meant the newer one.
Yeah, true.
Because we were talking about 3D. Sorry.
Yeah.
I should have qualified. Or like God of War, I'm running and I hit the thing and I start. Even though you don't necessarily stop in more modern games, there is a bit of a like the character slows down a little bit.
It doesn't feel like you're stopping when it's done right. Yeah.
The action of swinging the weapon is instantaneous. You know what I mean? There's not this. There's just like a weird timing mechanism. It's just not good. Like, objectively, it's not fun to play. The story is cool. It's not a fun game.
Get why this is so revered. I mean, like this game, I would understand how this game would have its fans.
Sure,
but they're like, I really want to try the Game Boy Color version now because everyone says the Game Boy Color version is a complete bastardization of this game, and I'm really curious what they mean by that. Because what did they do to the game to make it so much worse than this NES game?
You and I will probably like that one better.
It's heralded as a damn masterpiece, and I did not care for it. I will say, just as a fact that has to be said, the Japanese name for this game is so much better than Crystallis.
Oh,
because
way better.
Crystallis is a cool-ass name, but it's not Godslayer Sonata of the Faraway Sky.
No, not even close. That's way
Godslayer.
better. Godslayer. And man,
it doesn't fit this game at all.
No.
Crystallis is a way better title for it. But
it's far jauntier than the title Godslayer would have you believe.
Indeed.
But like, man, I was so disappointed. I was so fucking jacked to play this game. You know, this is on
I was pretty
this
excited
is on every fucking list of like, here are the NES games that you should have played that you ignored for whatever reason because you were an asshole. You know, Crystallis is on every fucking list. And man, I just didn't get it. I didn't, and I'm so happy you fucking agree with me.
I definitely do. This was a game that I had played like the beginning of a long time ago, and it didn't click with me, and so I was really, really excited to try this one. I went in really stoked to finally like read the story and play this game, and right out of the gate, like, what do you have to buy a whistle or something to wake up that dude and start a windmill and like, you know, eventually went into the swamp. And what was that? What was the boss in the swamp? That thing pissed me the fuck off.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I had to shoot the wind thing at it. It wasn't the wind thing. Was that the fire thing? I don't remember.
I've already forgotten playing through this game. It was so unmemorable. Like, there was nothing that stuck with me from this game. Like, minus fucking not being able to kick that dude who was sleeping. Why do I gotta go buy a flute? I'll just kick him. He's right. He's right.
I have a sword.
I'll poke him in the ass with the pointy bit of my sword.
You're telling me I
he's gonna
can't
wake
wake
up.
this guy up with a sword? I gotta go buy a whistle? No.
So stupid. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like. I just did not like this game. I didn't like the overworld map. I didn't find it interesting.
I didn't like the fighting the bad guys. Like, I liked some of the character designs, but fighting them wasn't. Nothing about the game was fun. I had no fun playing this game, and it broke my heart because I was really excited to play this game. There are people who legitimately consider this better than Zelda, and those people are absolutely crazy.
They're dead
just
wrong.
Crazy.
Dead wrong.
Either they got this
Objectively.
game, and I don't understand where that comes from. Where they can look at this game and look at the Legend of Zelda and say that this is objectively better than that. I don't see it. I cannot think of a single thing about this game, minus maybe the setting, that puts this over that. I just don't see it.
They're just not comparable. They're just not. Like, at the end of the day, they're just not. Even if Zelda is not your favorite game ever, and that's fine, like, you can't sit down and play this side by side and be like, yeah, Crystallis is better. Like, that's not that. You would be intellectually dishonest at that point.
I wouldn't agree with it, but I would understand people liking Newtopia better than Zelda. I would get that. It's not me, because we talked all about Newtopia and the certain degree of polish that I feel is missing. But I understood the real draw to Newtopia. I don't get the draw of Crystallis. I just don't.
No, even the Golden Axe one.
Yeah, Golden Axe Warrior.
Golden Axe Warrior. That game
I have not played it. No, that's not true. I have played that game. Yes. I don't think I played through that game. That's a game that I would love I would hope would win one of these summer series next time we do it, because I need to play more of that game. I have played it, but I haven't played through it. And that is a great Zelda clone as well. Yeah,
that one, I could see people with Golden Axe Warrior. I haven't played it in a while. But oh god, I'm choking on my beer here. From memory, I could see people being like, Golden Axe Warrior is up in that sort of echelon with Zelda or like New Topia. Man, Crystallis just not there, not for me. And like I would really love at Geekade Dan, send me shit on Twitter. If you disagree with what Kris and I are saying, at mail@geekade.com, at kimono_that's Lord. Fucking tell us what you liked about this game, man, because
please, I want to know. Please let us know what it is about Crystallis. Like, is this game
like
one?
Fallout. I get why people like Skyrim. They're not for me, but I get it. This one, man,
this one won hands down too. Like, this was like far and away the one that got the most votes.
Yeah, people were like commenting on Facebook, like, "Oh shit, Crystallis is fucking dope."
It's not.
No,
I'm sorry.
It's not.
Well, that was fun.
Boo, boo, hiss. We can't end like this. Look forward to our fall series that I haven't come up with yet, but I will.
We'll talk. So that's going to be our show for this week. Join us next week for an all-new trivia time with special guests Dave and Jengus from the You Shall Not Pass Go podcast.
I'm beating those guys.
I'm very excited about this one. If you've never listened to You Shall Not Pass Go, Jengus has a very unique laugh.
It's the most endearing fucking laugh.
It's very, so very good. Loud.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Once again, you can get in touch with us at mail@geekade.com, as well as all flavors of social media that we inhabit. You can like us on Facebook, find us on Instagram at Geekade, subscribe to our YouTube and Twitch channels for all our latest video content, and follow us on Twitter at _Geekade. You can also find us individually on Twitter. I'm at Geekade Kris, that's Geekade Kris, and Dan is at
Geekade Dan.
If you're interested in more information about anything we discussed here tonight, be sure to check out our show notes. And while you're at it, you can also subscribe to this and any of our other wonderful podcasts on iTunes or Stitcher. Or if you're super nice, you can leave us a review because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. We'd also like to thank our intrepid editor, Evan, for making the show listenable for all you folks. And we'd like to thank Mark TDK Knight for our show's theme. You can check him out on SoundCloud and Bandcamp, or his website, which we have a link to again in the show notes. Always remember to keep your eyes on Geekade.com for more fresh, original content. That's it, everybody. On behalf of Dan and myself, keep playing games.